Everyone who's making money in podcasting has one thing in common.
The School of Podcasting with Dave Jackson.
Hey, I'm Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting.com, where I help you plan, launch, and grow your podcast. And I'm also the author of the book, Profit from Your Podcast. You can find that over at profitfromyourpodcast.com. And of course, before we get to the main event, we got to talk about you liking, subscribing, and ringing the bell. And you know what's interesting is I just was listening to Tim Schmoyer. Do you know Tim? Video creators. And he said that asking people to like, subscribe, and ring the bell doesn't work anymore. And I really shouldn't be asking people to, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. So I won't ask people anymore to do that. What we're going to talk about today is making money with your podcast. And first things first, guess what? You don't have to. If you don't want to make money with your podcast, you just want to talk about Batman in the basement, you do you. But I was at an event at Podcast Movement Evolutions out in LA, and I got a lot of pitches from companies in the podcast space, and most of them were pretty bad. One, I said, hey, are you using the back end of Podcasting 2.0? Because they were adding chapters and links and things like that. First of all, who is looking at your phone when you're listening to a podcast? Unless it's a video thing. But, and they went, huh? And I went, you don't know your space. You're making a product for a space that you don't understand. And then the other one was like, hey, we've got this cool app. Look, you can send voicemail to the podcaster. And I'm like, oh, you mean like Speakpipe that's been around for years? And so here's the thing that everyone that is making money in podcasting does. And that is they solve a problem. So one of the best ways to monetize your podcast that I mentioned in the book, Profit from Your Podcast, available at profitfromyourpodcast.com, is selling your own stuff. Now, why does that work so well? Well, when you deliver on a regular basis, so every Wednesday or whatever, you're seen as reliable. When you deliver content that is good, people go, wow, I like this stuff. It actually works. And then if you can kind of share a little bit about yourself, I usually say if you can make a point by telling a personal story, you kind of kill two birds with one stone, because then they get to know you. So you got the whole know, like, and trust thing. And when you say, I got a new book, I got a new course or whatever, your audience will buy it. But if you're like, I don't really have any kind of product, well, realize you're still solving a problem. Number one, let's say you're making somebody laugh, cry, think, groan, educate, or entertain. And you want to do one of those, laugh, cry, think, groan, educate, or entertain. Because if you're not, there's a word for that. It's called boring. But if you can make somebody laugh and forget about the crappy day they had at work where everybody was just a pain in the butt, you're solving a problem. So you can't be boring and expect someone to somehow reward you for that. And I want to clarify something. In the past, in the book, Profit from Your Podcast, available at profitfromyourpodcast.com, I mentioned how it takes, and nobody likes this answer, about 3 years to grow an audience to where you can actually make a substantial amount of money. But people are starting to say, oh, if I just do 3 years of content, I will make money. No, that's not what I said. I said people that were making content so good that their audience couldn't help but share it with a friend. Yeah, those people had acquired, had grown, had nurtured an audience that was big enough to monetize. And that doesn't mean that you need a giant audience to monetize, but just so you know that, hey, if I just do 36 months worth of podcasts, I'm going to have money fall from heaven. Not really what I said, but you do have to solve a problem. And so to solve a problem, you need to know what's going on in your niche. I always say spend $100 on a microphone and spend 100 hours getting to know your audience. So when you solve a problem, either selling your product, selling somebody else's product, or solving your listeners' problem by helping them escape, or really one of the things I love about podcasting is you give them information they can't get anyplace else. That solves a problem. Nobody's talking about this hype. Nobody's talking about chameleon breeding or any other of the niche little podcasts. That's real, by the way. You're solving a problem. But if you are talking about, I always call it the interesting show. It's the interesting show where we interview interesting people with interesting stories, probably meant to inspire or empower. We can go find a billion of those. You want to have fun? Go search for the show OK Boomer. I'm not making this up. There's over 20 shows named OK Boomer. So you have to stand out. And one of the hardest questions to answer is, why should someone listen to you? And I really hate to say that because I know many of us have imposter syndrome and we're going, yeah, why would anybody listen to me? And it kind of pulls us back into our shell. But you have to figure out what is going to make your show special, because when you stand out, that's what's going to get people to talk about your show. So if you want to make money with your podcast, and again, you don't have to. I have people like, oh, I feel bad I'm not making any money. I love to ride my bike. I don't make a dime riding my bike. But if you want to make money with your podcast, you kind of need to solve a problem. You need to know your market and then give them something that will fix that product. Because think about anything that you buy, food, clothing, you'll see that it's solving a problem, and that's why you part with your money. If you need more help with that, of course, buy the book, Profit From Your Podcast, available at profitfromyourpodcast.com/book, and I'll even sign a copy and send it to you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.